Ladies, let's breathe for a moment. Today's message may not feel good at first, but it will set you free. Now, there is a law in nature. Water will always find its level no matter how high you try to lift it. No matter what vessel you pour into it. If that water hasn't changed temperature, if it hasn't transformed substance, it will settle where it's most familiar, where it fits, where it doesn't have to stretch. And sis, some men are just like that. A man must first choose to rise. A man can date a woman who calls him higher, a woman who sees his potential, his vision, the king in him. But if that man hasn't accepted that identity for himself, he will feel exposed in her presence. Not because that woman broke him. That's not why he feels exposed and uncomfortable in her presence, but because she sees him as whole. Now, a man who hasn't healed to a man who hasn't healed, wholeness feels threatening. So what does he do? He runs back to what doesn't call him out. Y'all know what I'm saying? Back to who lets him perform. Back to places that he doesn't have to grow, because comfort will always seduce a man who fears elevation. Now, the woman who made him see versus the woman who let him hide. Here's the bitter truth to it all, okay? Some women sharpen a man's soul. We don't just stroke his ego. We speak to his purpose. We remind him that he is leadership. We remind him that leadership comes, however, with discipline, and that love requires responsibility, and that a good heart is not a pass for poor choices. But guess what? That kind of woman is rare and intimidating, because she doesn't need him. She invites him into alignment. And if he's not ready for that kind of alignment, he'll retreat to what lets him stay lazy. And to the woman who benefits from his brokenness, instead of coming together with his breakthrough, I feel sorry for you. However, to the woman who appreciates him being whole and goes after him being whole, you didn't fail. You were the mirror. And I want you to hear this, beloved. You were never too much. You were a mirror, a reflection of what he could become, a glimpse into the man God designed him to be. But mirrors don't lie. And some people run from their own truth. Now, this is what I want you to do. Lean in. Let him go back to shallow waters. You are a queen, not a puddle. And if he couldn't swim in your depth, that's not your loss. It's his lesson. You know, scripture says this right here. Scripture says that iron sharpens iron. So one person sharpens another person. Somewhere in Proverbs 27, I think about 17. But sharpening requires friction. It requires honesty, humility, conviction. So if he chooses ease over evolution, lower over legacy, he didn't reject you. He rejected the process that would have grown him. And that's not your burden, sis, to carry anymore. That's not your burden. So in closing, what do you do now? Here's your healing assignment. I want you to stop shrinking yourself. I want you to stop shrinking your standards to keep someone comfortable. If you have to water yourself down to be loved, that love will never quench your thirst. It will never quench you. Release the fantasy of potential together and honor his reality. The version of him you see isn't the one showing up. Say to yourself, declare this: I will no longer build altars in places where men only bring excuses. I am a safe place for a healed man, not a rehab for the broken one who refuses to recover. Let that sink in. And in closing, I want you to say this with me. Say it very bold and loud. Say, I release the need to be the reason he rises. I allow him to return to his level, and I return to mine, higher, healed, and whole. Because water will always find its level. Let your level be peace, power, and purpose. Brandy J. Unscripted.